Okay, hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Hala Pablo. Thank you for tuning in. Hope everyone's having a good day. I wanted to do a quick update on Bitcoin because we've had some movement. So, like, what's going on right now, guys? What I believe it is just it's manipulation. It's it's just a run of the mill liquidity grab happening. There's been several liquidity grabs throughout this cycle where we haven't had liquidity grabs in the past cycle. If you compare the two sister algorithms, this is 2021, 22, and this is today. Obviously, you see, and we've gone over this in other videos. This is something I keep repeating it because it's so important, and I think it's overlooked and it's forgotten. And because of that, a lot of traders get freaked out, or they have a bad trade, or they get stopped out or liquidated or whatever. And it's because they're not taking into account the liquidity runs within the parent macro structure. So when I say Bitcoin is going to hit a certain price level like 65,000 or whatever, that doesn't mean it's going to go straight to 65,000. All right, that means algorithmically, according to the Fibonacci retracements, we can expect it to head down there, but not before liquidity grabs to the north and to the south. Now, 3 or 4 years ago, it was more cut and dry. You see how all this is contained in these LPSYs. Rarely do you see the waves going beyond the support and resistance of these redistribution ranges. Even like here, and I brought this all the way up. Everything is contained in here after the selling climax automatic rally. Look at the secondary test, stayed within the above the support line, and then all of this kinds of signs of weaknesses here, and then this little this wedge that came up. It didn't go past the trading range resistance, and then it came down through the ice. In any case, it didn't go up through the first anchored VWAP. Nothing went through the first anchored VWAP after it marked down from the first LPSY. You know what I mean? So here, this is the first, this is the second, and even this upthrust here didn't go through the trading range resistance and the LPSY. You see how they kind of converged here. Let me get a brush in this area here. It was really tame. This whole regression trend down was really tame. Wasn't really much throw over on the bottom, and then we had the mark down here, and which incidentally is kind of where we are now. Now compare the two. Now this first LPSY was pretty docile like this. In fact, we had this bottom here we didn't really have this year, but then we made up for it with the automatic rally from the second LPSY, whereas these two waves stayed within the confines of the trading range. These went all the way up. This automatic rally went all the way up through the first anchored VWAP and then the second anchored VWAP, and even like I was telling my group today, endeavored even to re-enter the first LPSY redistribution range. That's how aggressive it was, and that was in the beginning of March. Remember, and that was about 16%. That was a 16% pump, and everyone thought that we were reversing and going to 120,000. From there. So some of these liquidity grabs can be extremely aggressive, just depending on the FOMO powering it or propelling it. And we have a president, we have a whole presidential administration, White House, and everything going on in the world. We have a president that likes to tweet, likes to just, I don't know, say stuff. And everything he says has an effect on the markets. And, it's one thing being kind of like a loose cannon, just kind of tweeting stuff left, right, and center. But when it has to do with like geoeconomic, world economic situations like the tariffs and the, stuff that pertains to tariffs and trade war in China and retaliatory tariffs and and all this stuff, and to just go back and forth, flip flopping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That is a dream come true for the composite operator, for smart money, and the market makers that catalyze each and everything that comes out of the White House regarding the economy, and that's immediately reflected in the price action of the markets. And so Bitcoin is no exception. Bitcoin, and so we saw that today. This whole area here, which is this area. Now, in 2022, we had a mitigation of the selling climax and the bottom here, kind of like we had a few days ago, right? We had this wedge. Here's the wedge. The wedge, for the most part, after we had these two liquidity grabs for the month of March, this is the duration of March. We had the wedge, came up to the resistance, but the resistance line, you notice again, did not, the tops of this did not go through. This would be the corresponding top here. Did not go through the first ice barrier, where the first anchored VWAP joined with the trading range resistance, this horizontal line here, the same area of convergence. It was not able to penetrate it and went back down, fell back down through the first anchored VWAP, or the dark blue, or the ice, fell through the first ice, came down, and then hugged support line. That's this here. That was what we had here. But then all of us, and then we had the markdown, okay, and everything was good, right? And so this brings us to where we are now, following this algorithmically, and now you see that we've had these liquidity runs right here, 1 and then 2. The first one went up through, and this like really freaks people out. And it's like, if you just kind of scroll out and get the when in doubt, scroll out, and especially if you have the algorithm to go off of, and you see it, it's really not that frightening. It's like looking at a bug under a microscope. Like I told my group today, like I was kind of likened it onto, like, if you look at a flea, take a flea, a little tiny flea, right? And if you look at it under a microscope, you magnify it, it looks hideous, right? It looks like a monster. It looks like something from a Lovecraft story or novel or whatever, right? A monstrosity. But you kind of back away from the microscope and look at it, and it's a little tiny harmless speck. You can't, it's, you just squash it or whatever. So under magnification, people who keep like their price action on charts of very, very low time frames, this is going to look like Armageddon, right? This is going to look like, especially if you've got a short position, it's like, oh my gosh, I thought we were supposed to go down. And so, but when you back up, you scroll out, when in doubt, scroll out and look at it, you just see it's just a blip in the micro, contained within a parent macro regression trend. And these things, we know, have been germane to this regression trend. It shouldn't really come as a surprise. You can't forecast them unless you know the president's about to say something, and it's probably going to have this sort of effect on the market. But like, if you're not, and he speaks, and you're not kind of following every single thing that comes out of Washington, you're probably going to miss it, sleep on it, and then you're gonna run into something like this. And it's okay if you miss it, because all of these things, and like I was sharing with my group, usually amount to, unless we go through both these ices and we have a close atop of this anchored VWAP, the first anchored VWAP on a daily, I'm really not, I just consider this another liquidity run within the parent algorithm. And so, but of course, again, if you're looking at it under the microscope, it's going to look cataclysmic. It's going to look like you're not going to know. You're going to think that the market's reversing or what. It could very well. We could, I guess we could reverse. Anything is possible. I'm not saying that, that I know for sure what's going to happen because, again, I don't have a crystal ball. But going off the pattern that we've had established since the beginning, this is stuck pretty close to the algorithm. And I'm expecting after this, already we've got this hugging along the support line of this second LPSY with volume. Here's more of a micro of where we just were. These are the two anchored VWAPs anchored to the source of the selling climax on each, and you see how this has come up. Now we have this macro resistance. This is the macro resistance of the regression trend that goes all the way back up to $109,000. Nothing has been able to dominate this line. What I mean by dominate, I mean prevail upon it and build a close on the daily or higher and launch from it. We haven't seen that yet. We've just seen we've seen it go through two VWAPs like here. This got stopped out, and all of these areas here where we see throw over coming over the macro trend resistance, it's inevitably gone back down, sunk back down to not only the anchored VWAP but beneath the anchored VWAP. So I think where we are here, where we've we haven't even penetrated this first ice barrier. This is the first guardrail that we have. I think of this as this is my system. I was explaining to one of the moderators in the group that this is like a mountain. I think of this as like a mountain ridge, and the anchored VWAPs are along the trails. These are guardrails to protect you from falling into the canyon or whatever. The first guardrail is a caution, and the second is like, a flash. It's, this is danger, danger, danger. And so far, like we had this one back in, this one went through both ices, and this was on the 2nd of April. We had this flash pump that went up to the first anchored VWAP and then promptly came back down. But it just happened so fast, it wasn't really an issue. But now here this morning, the reason it seems so substantial is because it was coming out of this bottom here, this double bottom, and so what was the percentage on this? This is 10%. It's about a 10-11% pump, but you see that we've got stopped out kind of at this. Trying to flip this support line has now been turned into resistance, and it's seeing if it could flip this resistance, close above it, and then make another stab at the first ice, and then if that, then to the second ice. So far, we haven't seen it do that. It doesn't seem to have that kind of strength. So again, I'm seeing this as kind of like a liquidity grab for the market maker, catalyzing the president's announcements. If we take this down to say a 30-minute, we can look at the VSA even more at a forensic, and yeah. So we see a lot of fireworks here, but then let's see. Can I get rid of some of this? Yeah. All right. And then let me bring it back to 30 minutes. 30 minutes a good forensic time for this. For volume spread analysis. See how this is rounding off up here? See, when you get you start to look at patterns and learn pattern recognition. Anytime you see like price action rounding at a resistance line, we're getting like a rounded top like this, and you see demand diminishing as you're getting a rounded kind of structure. Now that usually denotes a distribution in the making. Now, this doesn't mean that it's just going to go straight down from here. We could have another upthrust, and we can even try to take another stab at this ice line. Remember, there's an ice. The first ice is at 83.8, so we could have another stab at it. But all in all, I think the end game for this is this move is unsustainable for now, and I think that we'll be going back down eventually to continue to print out this algorithm. I think we'll have another markdown at some point, and And now there, when we hit this, remember, this is like 67, 66. This is the 618 Fibonacci retracement from this ABC. Once we get down into this area, then remember, we're going to, this is where something, this is where we need to sit up in our chairs and take notice, because depending on how this plays out, where these two ice lines converge and we go through it, I think there's gonna be a lot of fighting around this ice. And if it fails to take this ice, which should coincide around the support line of this range, so we'll come back up around 82 from the 60s, possibly, but that does not mean that it's a reversal at that point. It could be something like this. It could be a UTAD brewing up for a UTAD back into the line and then drop the floor out. It just depends on the economic situation at the time. If the tariffs, I think if the tariff situation has been resolved and everything is starting to look like sunshine and rainbows again, then I see this to differentiate from 2022. I see this perhaps maybe closing on top of both of these anchored VWAPs and bouncing on it, and then maybe creating an inverted head and shoulders from here. But that's if the tariff situation has been resolved by then. If not, then it could signal the actual macro bear market. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but we're just going to have to see. But I think once this dies down and the smoke clears, I think we're going back down. This certainly looks unsustainable. We have falling demand, and it looks like it's kind of topping out here. We see that it mitigated this order block. Usually price will do that before it makes a further move down in the parent trend, which is a bearish trend that we've been in since 109,000. So after this order block mitigation and then getting stopped out at this first anchored VWAP, we could see something going back down, and that would make sense algorithmically and continue with the parent fractal, the sister fractal that we've been going off of, that has kept us safe since January. And that's all I got. Thanks guys for watching. Check us out on Discord if you'd like to take your trading up another notch, and just be a part of just a wonderful community of traders, all of which love price action and volume. We're all learning. People are at different stages, but we have seasoned traders and we have absolute noobs in it. So come one, come all. You're all welcome. I keep it extremely affordable and very, very approachable. I try to keep the vibe very, very friendly. I believe that it's a group that is blessed by the Lord. And so, So anyway, I love you guys, and I'm praying for you. Everyone with ears to hear who have been receiving the message that I've been sharing at the end of these videos. I'm not going to really share one today, but there was a question: do I preach in the Discord? No, I do not. This is the gateway. This is, I share my evangelistic messages on YouTube, but in the Discord, it's strictly trading and it's business as usual. So if you're not into that sort of thing, no judgment for you. I'm praying for you. I pray that God open your eyes and grant you the gift of repentance. And you're of course welcome to contact me in the Discord. I'd love to pray if you have any needs, or if I could be in prayer with you, or pray for something that you need help with, something with your family or health or your finances. I'd love to come into agreement and pray with you in Jesus' name. But I don't evangelize in the Discord. I don't proselytize or none of that. So so you have nothing to worry about if that's not your cup of tea. So anyways, all right, guys. Again, I love you. Be safe in the markets. Subscribe if you haven't been subscribed, and hopefully I'll see you in Discord. Okay? It'll be a blessing, and you'll be blessed. And you'll bless me also by joining. So everyone's blessed all around. So all right, guys. Take care. Be safe in the markets. Adios. Bye-bye.